Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Donyall Dickey, founder and CEO of Educational Epiphany, one of America's fastest growing publishing and professional development companies. And I could not be more proud and more excited to welcome our first special guest, Lacey Robinson, CEO of UnboundEd, an educational think tank that partners with schools and districts to improve the quality of instruction so that all students can thrive. Welcome, Lacey.
Thank you, Dr. Dickey. I'm the first special guest.
Very first.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
And you know, we saved our first for like really the best, honestly.
Oh.
And I have a great deal of respect for you and what you do in the educational landscape, and I could not think of anyone else that I would like to premiere as our first special guest.
Well, I feel very honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And as I told you before, I in my selection of what communities to go speak to,
Yes.
you were actually my first for 2026.
Really?
Yes, I have not done a podcast, an article, anything since the onset of the year. So thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Our listeners and our viewers, they're in for a treat, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Okay, so before we delve into the core of our conversation today, I have a heart question for you,
Okay.
Lacey.
Okay.
Why did you find yourself drawn to education as a career?
Oh, that's easy. My mother.
Wow.
And probably my father too. I wanted to be a weather woman or an actress or a singer. I wanted to be like in the limelight.
Yeah.
And I always have had a love for words, even though they didn't come easy for me. Mm-hmm. So I always imagine myself as like a fictional writer, you know. But my mother, she had this thing with us that she would say all the time. She's like, you got to get a job that has a good 401k, right? I mean, she's a baby boomer.
That's important.
And when I was thinking about going to college, you know, she kept asking me, well, what do you want to do? Because my sister was going to be a doctor from the time she was born. Like that was just, you know, what they had pronounced for her.
Right. And she went ahead and did that?
She's a surgeon.
Okay.
And, you know, all of that.
Okay.
I say I play a doctor on TV. It annoys her. And when I went to go apply for college, she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, you know, I think I'm going to study journalism. And she's like, journalism? And I was like, yeah, you know, I think I want to be a weather woman. And she's like, a weather woman? You don't even like bugs. Like, you don't even really like being outside. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then she's like, I think you're really good with children and you like to tell people what to do. I think you should think about being a teacher. And so I really didn't but I couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah.
And so I applied to Florida A&M's Department of Education. I thought I was going to minor in journalism. And then I got there and immediately the professors and the coursework and they, at that time at FAM, you had to have a certain amount of hours in a classroom starting your freshman year.
Okay.
Before you could get to your...
Oh, you mean like real like internship experience?
Oh, yeah. They made you as a freshman, because they had a charter school on campus that was K through 12, you had to volunteer to have hours there. It's like one of my methods class early on.
Sure.
Plus, I was a Pell Grant student, so that I got paid. It was part of my Pell Grant work. And so I got assigned to Miss Davis, who was a first grade teacher. Yeah. And I believe that being in her classroom was a big catalyst for making me want to stick in education.
Okay, got it. So a mother knows best.
Yes, my mother was right. Where's the camera?
Over there.
You were right, Mom.
All right, so talk to us about your career in ed. Where have you been?
Well, I put myself through college.
Okay.
Because that was the other thing my mother said when she dropped me off at school. She was like, I did the best I could. Single mother. My father, unfortunately, had succumbed to drugs and alcohol, even though he's a brilliant businessman. And my mother was like, but you're strong and you'll figure it out. Here's $20.
Wow.
She dropped me off and I figured it out. So I started working at an early childhood center. A friend of mine had told me about a job. I worked at the registration center. The early childhood center was so interesting to me because there were 2 and 3-year-olds. And
oh Lord, anyone who teaches them is a saint.
but it was a Reggio school.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating to watch them learn while they were playing, right? And have conversations with them. So that was the other little bug that bit me. And then I would volunteer at the elementary school, leave there, go work in the registrar's office, and then go finish my day at the early childhood center.
Wow.
And so I started off, I thought I was going to do pre-K. Then I did my residency at Marva Collins.
Okay.
And it was a second grade classroom. I fell in love with second grade. So I taught second grade for a while here in Marietta, Georgia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wrote about that in Justice Seekers.
Okay.
And then my best friends at the time were like, we're sick of being in Atlanta. Let's move to New York. And I was like, okay. So I moved. I sold everything, moved to New York. I had no idea what I was going to do. My girlfriend was like, why don't you apply to Columbia? I was like, Columbia what? She's like, University? And I was like, well, why would I do that? She's like, they have a teacher's college. I was like, they have colleges for teachers? And she's like, where have you been?
Yeah,
so I go to teachers. I get in because my GPA was so high from undergrad, which is funny because I got into college on a 1.76 GPA, but we'll go back to that.
Okay.
And I started working, got in an argument with my professor on the first day.
Wow.
Because she said some pretty jarring words about students in Brooklyn. I didn't even know where Brooklyn was, but I knew she was talking about students of color.
You knew it was a demeaning remark.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was the only African-American person in the class. And before I could stop myself, I said something back to her, and we get into a back and forth.
During class?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Had no idea who she was.
Yeah.
And the woman sitting next to me, who's now my best friend, leaned over and was like, Mommy, do you know who this professor is? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And it was Lucy Calkins.
Ah.
And she offered me a job after the class.
Yeah.
I thought she was I was like, why is she?
Yeah. You know what that makes me think of, though, and I hate to interrupt you, but one of your mantras as an organization, because I did my research on you guys, is that justice is found in the details of teaching and learning.
Yeah.
And at a very early age or early stage in your career, that must have been running through your veins.
Yeah, because I learned hard lessons working in the Reader and Writers Workshop.
Yeah.
Hard lessons about the way that students, what I learned here teaching in Marietta, Georgia, which I thought was the norm for every school, and then what I experienced in New York, going to different schools to offer professional development. From the Bronx to Brooklyn, we would go to Long Island, and I was floored.
With?
The difference.
In the quality of what kids were receiving.
Yeah, but even the demeanor that the educators had for the students.
Yeah, their disposition toward them.
And then also like the leaders of the school and the demeanor that they had for the educators. Yeah. And then the families. And then it made me realize, I decided at that point that in my educational career, which goes back to your original question, I was always going to work a few years in large urban schools where the SES was not high.
Y'all, that's socioeconomic status. Go ahead.
And then I was going to move to high SES systems, and I was going to Robin Hood it. I was going to learn from the high SES school systems.
Take it to the folks who need it the most.
And that's what I started doing.
Okay, got it. So you've had a career as a teacher, as a school administrator.
Yes.
And now as CEO of an organization that impacts schools and districts nationwide and internationally?
Yes, and it's an enterprise.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a nonprofit and for-profit. And I mention that because, and we may not have time to discuss this, but education is a business.
Sure it is.
And anybody who thinks otherwise
Is mistaken.
is not going to do it justice.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to go back, then I'll go forward. Like,
Yeah.
we have a great deal in common. So I didn't know that until now, that, some, issues with addiction in my family, and being sent off to college, first gen, by my grandmother with $200.
Well,
you know what I mean?
okay.
I mean, you got 20.
You had 100.
I had
You had
multiplied it.
180 over me.
And her saying to me, go get them.
Yeah.
And to be able to, for us both, to be in these positions that we're in now in public education, it is quite a blessing, is it not?
Yes, in your DNA. You don't have a choice.
Sure. Yeah.
You didn't have a choice. You have warrior conquer DNA.
Lord have mercy. Yeah. I feel that way, though, sometimes. Like,
You should.
yeah, particularly after I leave a school or district that, for one reason or another, had underserved children, had been underserving children and communities, and to leave them better than when I found them, and to walk away from it feeling like I contributed to society.
Can I change that a little bit?
Okay.
You left them more empowered than the way you found them. What you did
Sure.
was you unlocked for them what was already there.
Yeah.
And I think that as educators, because we unfortunately are in a profession that doesn't honor what we have, that doesn't give us the forthright to unlock what we have.
Yeah.
Sure, you have some educators that come in and that know that, but if you look at the profession as a whole, it's not something that supports you. And I think we forget.
Yeah.
We forget.
Yeah. Lacey, sometimes I have to prove legitimacy.
Yes.
Even with
Yes.
the career, the education, the impact data. I show up sometimes places and I have to prove I belong there. Does that happen to you in your work with UnboundEd?
Maybe. I don't acknowledge it anymore.
Okay, got it. For those who have yet to become familiar with UnboundEd, the work of UnboundEd,
Yeah.
could you give us some insight to your mission, your vision, and your reach?
Yes. Well, we believe at UnboundEd that all children deserve an equitable education. That when teachers and leaders are armed, their knapsack is filled with grade level engaging, affirming, meaningful instruction, that they can create an environment that, regardless of the missing prerequisites that students may come in with, that they too can obtain the knowledge, the skill set, the concepts, to place them on the path for career or college bound. We believe in empowering educators so that we can see those results in students.
Yeah, I meet a lot of, I like your acronym, GLEAM. So the G is grade level, well, the GL is grade level, because you ran right over it, and I want everybody to hear it, because I think it's really important.
Yeah.
GL is grade level and
Yes.
clean. The E is engaging.
Engaging.
The A is affirming,
Yes.
and the M is meaningful.
Yes.
Is that a problem in our schools?
Oh, problem or opportunity to fill a gap that I think a lot of people don't necessarily connect the dots.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, this is so interesting. I had a conversation with a woman the other day whose child is in high school.
Yeah.
And she was saying, my daughter really wants to go to college. She really wants to go to college, but she is struggling in math. And I'm finding her hanging out now with friends who have a low reverence for school. And she's like, and when I sit down and talk to her, I hear about her dreams and her hopes. But on the other side of that, she says to me, but maybe I'm just not a math person. Maybe I'm just not academically inclined, or, in her own teenager language. And she was like, it bothers me because I'm watching her cousins and some of her other classmates enter into high school programs where they're getting their AA degrees and they're, science bound, or, and I said to her, and I said, well, what does she like? She was like, she's in honors English, but she's in basic math, but all of her grades have slipped. And I said, oh, it's because she hasn't been academically affirmed. She was like, what? And I'm like, who you are interpersonally
Yeah.
plays a role of your academic achievement. People don't connect those dots. If I am a person who is struggling in math and I don't have the foundational concepts and skills, and I find myself in high school and I just cannot get out of a basic math class with a D, what makes you think that when I get to an English honors class, as much as I love it, as much as I love writing, that I'll walk in with the confidence?
Yeah. You know what that makes me think of? Like this saying that my grandmother used to say all the time, a little leaven leavened the whole bunch.
Absolutely.
And if a child is feeling unsuccessful in one area, could it not impact how they feel in other content areas and how they show up in learning spaces? Absolutely. Yes. Recently, I was in a classroom in North Carolina.
Okay.
And I met this kid named Kareem, a fifth grader. And I was doing a demonstration lesson while other folks were watching me teach, other educators watching me teach, so they can perhaps glean something from my practice and how it impacts students right away. And we were multiplying whole digit numbers by whole digit numbers. And immediately I saw that he was grappling. And the other kids were being successful with the work because they had procedural fluency, they had conceptual understanding.
Yep.
And I stood over his shoulder and I noticed, he can't multiply with automaticity.
Yep.
So here's what I had ready for him already, a multiplication table. And I said, oh man, you can do it.
Oh yeah.
You can do this. So you just need this. Let me show you how to multiply 9 times 3. Just when you just put your hand on 9 and go to 3, and where they meet, that's 27.
Yeah.
He said, boom. And immediately he was able to get to the next step in the work. Then I realized he had an issue with place value. So he was lining the numbers up wrong that he needed to add to each other. And so I'm still over his shoulder. And I said, hey, man, you got a place value issue. This is how you line them up. And then, boom, he was able to do the work. You should have seen his chest stick out.
Whole demeanor changed. You empowered him.
Yeah.
You unlocked for him.
Yeah.
So people don't necessarily give enough reverence to affirming students academically. And that's not saved for your A's or your 4.0s or your fluent students.
That's
That
right.
should be, every student should be affirmed academically.
That's right. So to that point, what protocols do you espouse as a part of your work in UnboundEd to ensure that children have access to this the instruction characterized by GLEAM?
So GLEAM is our framework that now undergirds all of the work through UnboundEd and has now started shifting CORE, our subsidiaries, framing.
Sure.
And so it's what helps us, I would say, initiate educators into understanding that even if you're in a system that has adopted an aligned curriculum, that is standards driven, right? That is, in some areas this is controversial, but that is past the sniff test. I'm not gonna say the phrase that, well, we can say greenlit, but greenlit is what we've used, but it's past the sniff test.
Yes. By hook or crook.
By hook or crook, right?
Okay.
But it's a high quality.
Okay.
That is only going to get you so far as an educator.
Sure.
As an educator, you have to be armed with the understanding that all students deserve grade level work. Regardless if they're missing prerequisites, regardless if you have a first grader in your room who is struggling with disfluency, who did not receive all of the foundational foundational concepts and skills of reading for kindergarten, they still deserve to have a first grade experience in the topics,
That's right.
the conversations, the themes of the stories, their exposure to math, right?
Yeah.
You got to engage them. And engaging, I think of it as, I'm very visual, as like a stair step. So on one hand, in engaging, it's got to be rigorous, right? You got to get your mind
That's right.
clicking, right?
Yeah.
And then engaging also means that I'm also engaging who you are in this conversation, which means that you get to bring your whole self into this discussion. If I talked about this in Justice Seekers, if I'm reading The Three Billy Goats Gruff, and you recognize that this story is about goats, and your abuela has a name for goats that isn't the English name that we're using in this book, you're invited to offer up to the class
some valuable information. Right. Which affirms you as a learner.
Here you go.
Love it.
There's your next acronym, which is affirming.
That's right.
But I'm not just going to, and this is really important. and I need all educators to understand this, I'm not just going to affirm you who you are linguistically and culturally. And by the way, culture isn't holidays and heroes.
Right.
It is your local historical context that you bring into my classroom. But I'm also going to affirm you academically. And I have to say this because I have educators that I meet, brilliant educators, that feel like if I can connect with the kids, play a little Drake, use a little bit of the language, skibbity-doo, all of that, that I'm affirming them. That's not enough. You got to affirm them academically.
Yeah. Sometimes that can come across as an insult even, because I have people try to affirm me in ways that are superficial and short-sighted. And so kids can see through that.
Yeah. Right. Well, I would bet they're affirming you making some assumptions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which I would say is the other piece that we work with educators about. You don't have to be an expert in someone's cultural, linguistic, historical background. Sure. What you need to do is be keenly aware of how you invite it in.
That's right. And that invitation results in a synergy that is organic and even creates like a mutual beneficial relationship.
It's a respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a level of flow.
Sure.
That you're inviting in. And then the last is meaningful. Yeah. And meaningful really comes out of a lot of our meaningful is derived from Gloria Ladson-Billings' work.
Love her.
And it is a way that we translate for educators that students don't just need to know the why they're learning something. Yeah. They need to be empowered with the what it can do for them individually, for their family, for their community, and our world. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to GL and then come back to M. I was with, which is why I love Gleam so much, and it's not just an acronym.
No.
Yeah, I was with a group of folks and supporting them in their effort to provide kids with instruction that's developmentally appropriate. Because people will teach down here, but then children will get assessed up here.
Yes.
Right? And so an educator said, well, they don't read on grade level. So I always have to filter my responses so that I'm constructive.
Yeah.
And but also instructive. Yeah. At the same time. And I said, children can think on grade level even if they can't read on grade level.
Exactly.
And I think to that end, I think it's our responsibility to bring children up to the text. Yeah. And in the interim, because if they're grappling with reading on grade level, then why not provide a bridge to the grade level text and supplement that with grade level thinking?
You know what's so interesting about this?
Yes.
Is that as human beings, I think this is so interesting. Do you think on a medical level?
Not at all times.
But yet you can go into a doctor's office. Yeah. He can tell you about your condition. Yeah. He could tell you how that condition developed, what it's doing to the systems in your body. He could tell you the medication that it's going to use, what that medication is going to do. Sure. And all of a sudden now you're having a medical discussion. Have you been to medical school?
No.
But you understand what he's talking about. Yeah. Why wouldn't students? Yeah. Why wouldn't it be the same for another human being in your class that may be struggling with disfluency?
That's right. Yeah.
But could still have conversations and understandings about themes and topics that are related to their age group.
Yeah, unless we think for some strange reason that as educators, we are educating a unique group of children who have incapacity.
Exactly.
Unless they're genetically inferior, right, or by some freak of nature, we've inherited children who can't. Right. They probably can.
But we haven't figured out how. Right. And that's the thing that I love about education. Yeah. Is that I have found that no matter what group of students sit before me, no matter what label, cohort, no matter what we have determined about their capability, that if you use the right tools, strategies, and mindsets, you can quite possibly unlock in them or allow them the ability to show you that I may not do it in its traditional sense, but I can do it.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I have another question for you about mindset before we run out of time. We're like 25 minutes in.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, ma'am. Time flies when you're having fun with Lacey Robinson. Okay, so I was a principal. This is my second principalship, and I was in an affluent school district, but in the most inaffluent school in the district, secondary school in the district. And that's where I was typically assigned as a leader.
Yes. Yes.
So I think some folks in this district who gave me the school, the higher ups,
As a leader of color.
As a leader of color, yeah. I think they wanted me to keep a lid on it. But I don't know if they knew I could flip it.
Yes.
Right? And so in a very short time, we demonstrated the most significant gains in the entire state of Maryland.
So your warrior DNA showed up.
It did. And I cared less about what people thought about me.
Yeah.
You know, I was 31 or 2. So I think I cared a little bit. I care less now.
Yeah.
But the warriors showed up because I wanted to defend children from lackluster and mediocrity.
Yes.
And so I say that to say this. There was a kid named Charlie, a 7th grader. And on this day, Charlie's English teacher was out, like absent. And the assistant principal, Richard Fairbanks, he reminds me a lot of Richard Bork, who works with us here at Educational Epiphany.
Yes.
He covered the class because we didn't have enough subs.
Yes.
And the word transdermal came up.
Oh.
And we've been working on language.
Yeah.
And making sure that children possess conceptual understanding of language because we were sure they had capacity. Their academic performance did not match what we knew was their capacity.
Exactly.
So even though they were in poverty, who cares, right? And so the word transdermal came up, and Mr. Fairbanks raised his hand. Fairbanks said to the children, "Does anyone know what it means?" And Charlie said, "I do." And Charlie looked like he could take your wallet, and you wouldn't know it was gone.
Right.
Okay. So Charlie said, "I know." He said, TRANS, trans, it means across.
Okay.
And DERM in transdermal, it means skin. And AL in transdermal means pertaining to. So Mr. Fairbanks, I think transdermal means related to crossing the skin. Related to crossing the skin. Mr. Fairbanks said he lost his mind. And that's when he realized that, because he'd been there before me in this underperforming school. He didn't look like the children, but he loved them just the same. He had been there thinking all along, these children have an incapacity.
No.
And he realized in that moment, his mindset, how he saw them needed to change.
Because your mindset as an educator enters into the lesson before your actual opening of the lesson. Your mindset as an educator.
Even how you plan it.
Oh, I was gonna say it actually.
Okay.
It actually is what is determining what actually gets executed in that lesson, or how you even meet opening up that instructional book and saying like, oh, okay, this is lesson 12. The kids, you're already making up in your mind, well, they're not gonna be able to do this or they can't. And I say this to educators very respectfully because I had to say it to myself. And let's tell the truth.
Yeah.
We did not start out as superstar educators. We learned a lot of lessons.
Well, I did.
Okay. Well, there's always an exception.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
There's always an exception.
Never short on self-love. Even if it's delusional.
What did it say? You're a legend in your own mind. It's okay. That's that warrior in you.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was gonna say mindset, which is the other thing at UnboundEd that we wholeheartedly believe in, is that it takes skill set and mindset.
I like that.
In order for us as educators to be able to not only create environments where all students can learn, but how about this? Environments that we as educators can thrive.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Because, I always say that, schools are supposed to be professional places. And I'm telling you, Lacey, I go a lot of places, they're not.
Yeah, it's because it's our perception as the United States about education.
Yeah.
Which is something I write about in the new Gleam. Well, we have a Gleam manuscript, a Gleam book that's coming out this fall.
Okay.
That I call the Gleam Guidebook affectionately. But I talk about this in the opening, in that in the United States, our perception of an educator is oftentimes glorified. We have these angelic personifications that are put on us. People are like, oh, God bless you. It's certainly not revered on the same level as a physician, an engineer, a lawyer, an HVAC engineer. And I say that not in a condescending way, but in a way that we don't deem this profession in a high enough esteem.
Yeah.
And it shows in the way that we treat it.
It does. It shows in the way we treated ourselves as members of the profession.
Yeah.
Like I did a 45-day stint in South Korea with educators. And I was responsible for leading professional development on like English as a second language and what it takes to be an effective school leader. And so as a part of that work, I visited schools in Iksan, South Korea.
Okay.
Close by, they're building new land in the sea with sand. So they're bringing sand, like innovative people. Okay. So I would go in and out of classrooms, and the children and the other educators knew that I was an educator from the U.S. And you know what they would do? Bow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It threw me initially. Because how we view educators here in the U.S., quite different.
Yeah. Listen, being a teacher, I don't know about you. I come from a family of Black Southerners. And, the Bible was a huge piece of where and how I grew up. One of the oldest, most highly revered professions, the teacher.
Yeah.
The teacher.
Yes.
And people, for whatever reason, and I have my theories about it, but that's a whole different podcast. I think it's also the way we view, let me say it this way, because I say this in the Gleam manuscript. I think as a United States, we have to come to a decision point around what does it mean to be educated, particularly now more than ever.
Yeah.
Now with the insurgence of technology and like the evolution of who we are as a society. And because the original reason why we launched public education was around the upholding of democracy, to ensure that all your citizens are educated
and enlightened,
so that your democracy can flourish. And I'm not insinuating that is not our original purpose isn't still there, but it has evolved.
Yeah.
And with that has to evolve the way we see the profession.
Yeah. I think in some ways, you know what FAPE is, like free, appropriate public education. I don't know if it's free anymore. I don't know if it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about the state of it. Now, I'm not condemning public ed because I'm a public educator.
Me too.
But I'm not sure of the impact of public education on students.
Yeah.
If 70% of our children are leaving us after a pre-K-12 experience with an inability to read and think critically, I think we need a reset. Okay, so that leads me to this question. Your standards institutes have been very successful, and the content resonates so strongly with educators around the country.
Yes.
What do your participants typically take away from participating in your convenings?
Well, first and foremost, we pride ourselves with they walk away feeling loved.
Okay.
Feeling revered, feeling like they're professionals, and they deserve a space and place to be able to, what we affectionately say, make their brain sweat. The very thing that when you are truly an educator that drives you to get up in the morning and to go into a classroom, regardless of what's happening in your house, and to work with a group of students, that moment, that moment that you have with kids where you watch their learning hit a new plateau. You watch them realize I can read. Yeah. That moment that you talked about with the student where you showed him what the multiplication and Kareem was like, "Well, hey,
got it.
I got it." That moment, guess what? Educators need the same moment. Educators need to be reminded that you're in the brain business, right? And that very moment that you experience is what you want your children to experience. So they walk away feeling empowered, respected. They walk away with either being reaffirmed, being introduced to pedagogical concepts and skills, and they walk away understanding that in order for me to feed into children, I have to be fed into.
Yeah, I mean, I meet folks all the time in our professional development convenings when folks bring us into their schools or districts to help them to ensure, because we have a similar vision, mission, and even philosophy of education. You and I do, UnboundEd and Educational Epiphany. But sometimes I go places and I'm done with the keynote or done with the workshop, and veteran educators will walk up and say, you know, I was really feeling disengaged and dishonored and ready to, go find myself, retire and find myself. But after this session, if this is what the district is going to do, I think I might stay around for a little while longer.
Yeah.
So you're right. Educators do need that moment.
Yes.
To feel revived.
Yeah. All other professions, doctors, lawyers, engineers, it's all built into their profession that they consistently grow. Yeah. In fact, my sister, who's a surgeon, every year she has to show what new research, what new learning she has taken on. And I don't know anybody that would go to any other profession and if that professional said to you, well, I haven't studied this and you would, if you had a doctor who told you that they haven't opened up or read a medical research article in the past 20, 30 years, you would walk out with the paper gown on.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So why would we not expect that to be the norm in education?
Yeah, we need that experience as educators so that we can sharpen our saws, so that we can be our personal best for the children we love and care about.
And regardless of, and here's where you and I's work is most important, regardless of, and I'm going to say this in a loving way because I've had to balance budgets, regardless of what your budget constraints are, you have got to consistently pour into those educators in your system.
Yeah, I agree.
You cannot put a diet on the educator's professional development and expect your students' academic achievement to fatten.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's pretty powerful. Yeah, you're right. Like sometimes I go places and I can tell teachers have been invested in.
Yes.
Right? And it is their content knowledge is mature.
Yes.
Their pedagogical knowledge is mature. How they relate to children and to families in the community is sort of like a chef's kiss.
Yes.
And so I agree with you. We do have to put our professional development money where our mouth is.
Yes. Before I got the language to describe this, I used to say as a school leader that if you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the children.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so we don't want them eating the children.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So everyone, if you have a professional development budget, make sure that it's building teacher capacity to serve kids well. It's a really important investment.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I met you for the first time last year.
Yes.
I keynoted one of your convenings
institutes
in Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
And from the moment I walked into the venue, it was electric, it was forward-leaning, it was nearly tangible.
Good.
How do you create and maintain such a ecosystem?
It's not me. I have a community of, I lovingly call them superheroes. Yeah. I oftentimes say that I am so fortunate. I work in the halls of justice. Right. I have so many colleagues who have their own superpower, whether it's pedagogical content knowledge, whether it's curriculum knowledge, whether it's systems knowledge, whether it's understanding that it's heart and then hand, the passion that they have, not just for students, but for educators. I think that's really important because I think we're often told, I love the kids. I love the kids. Do you love the teachers?
That's right.
Do you love the leaders?
Yeah.
Because love's got to go all the way around.
Even if they're hard to love.
Because the kids are hard to love too.
Okay.
Some of us got our own kids. We look at like, okay, I might love you, but I don't like you right now. You know? But it's a full 360. Yeah. And so I'm so fortunate that I work around folks who take the time, the care down to the details.
Yeah, that's what
down into the details of what you experience there.
Yeah. I love coming to your convenings, and by the time folks watch this, I will have been a part of your convening here, your institute here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes. Agnes Scott. We're at Agnes Scott.
Agnes Scott College, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Very excited about that. So thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm going to blow the roof off the place.
Well, you did last time. I mean, it was like a revival.
Yes,
I was like, we made a mistake. We should have had tithing plates. I know this time. We will be passing a bucket after you speak.
Absolutely. Oh, I appreciate that. Look, something comes over me. When you give me the microphone and tell me go, honestly, my personality, it just turns inside out.
Well, you speak truth to power. You know, and I will say this, you make people's brains sweat. Because again, you cause that. I was there in the room. All of you don't just stand up in front of us and talk the talk. You literally make us exercise with you. And I watched people's neurons and dendrites grow as you were talking. I watched people grapple with your terminology, you know, your pedagogical prowess, what you were standing up in front of them, and people taking notes. You were teaching, and there were folks in there who had never heard of some of your pedagogical processes, the terminology, you know, and I watched their brains click. I watched their brains sweat, which is what happens to them in the sessions. You don't just come to our sessions and sit. We don't believe in that. Andragogy.
That's right. Adult learning
has to be ignited in order for them to go back and feel empowered to ignite the pedagogy in their classrooms. And that's what you did during your keynote.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it. I mean, I felt apostolic, because I even said at the beginning, I said, y'all, I'm going to start out Methodist, but I'm going to end up Pentecostal.
Well, you took them to church. They had a full experience.
All right. Okay. So this question is connected. So do you recall? Do you recall how I came to know you, or you came to know of our work at Educational Epiphany, and what in particular inspired you to reach out and have us become a part of your institutes?
So I think, again, this speaks a lot to our profession, because there is not a unifying platform or place for us to, in education, to necessarily find experts. We have to rely on word of mouth. The word is passed. And so the word about your work was passed to me by a former colleague of mine. And oddly enough, I had seen some of your social media posts. And I remember some of the first social media posts that I saw, and I was like, oh, he's been to Institute. What? We're speaking the same language. And I think the first time we invited you, I've been to every single institute since it started, even before I became CEO, except for one. And I feel like we ended up, you were supposed to come to that institute, and then we waited because I wanted to make sure. Remember? And we were like, okay, we're going to make sure that we invite him back. And I wanted to specifically see you. But I'm going to tell you something else that was in the moment. The way that we have in the United States catalyzed the focus around reading, and not just, everyone should love to read. Great. No, everyone should know how to read.
That's right.
Everyone should feel empowered to decide whether or not reading is their ministry, right? And when I watched your videos, when I watched the way that you talk about the mechanics of reading and the way that you break it down, I was like, it's a no-brainer. We need to have you in front of the audience. And after doing the podcast with Emily Hanford, not only did she receive phone calls, but when people recognize, like, oh, wait, you were on that podcast, I can't tell you how many professional adults I meet. Nurses.
That's right.
Doctors.
Who all say,
I am a struggling reader. I think people underestimate the problem that we have. And I'm going to say this. It's going to be controversial. I believe that the gaps in our reading proficiency in the United States are part of the ingredients of the muck and mire that we are in right now. It's not about political affiliation. It's about people having the wherewithal and an empowerment to be able to decipher fact, fiction, historical analysis, data, to feel empowered that someone could stand before me and make a statement, and I know how to go and fact check or read up on what that person is talking about. I believe that our low proficiency in reading is playing a huge role in our chasm, in our humanity.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about how people receive information these days, it is very easy to be influenced.
Yeah, because it's like Clint Smith's book, which isn't the premise of his book, but I love the title. The word is being passed and not read and dissected and discussed and debated.
Yeah, I said this recently, I think on another podcast, that I constantly, while I'm on planes, and I'm on one, just about every weekday, sometimes on weekends, and I actually just want to be a human and sit down somewhere. But I guess the alternative is no one checking for me, so I'm pleased. And I'm constantly switching between the major news channels, and people watching me do that, sitting next to me on the plane. And what I'm actually doing is getting information from multiple sources so that I can figure out what my own truth is, or what I believe to be true.
Yes.
And that takes an ability to read, to think at a high level, to analyze information, to synthesize information. And our foundation as a nation is weakened by our inability, by our children and ultimately adults' inability to read at developmentally appropriate expectations.
And I think that part of that weakening is it is fact finding, but here's the other piece. It is also being able to take a deep dive or even a brief dive into historical analysis. So watch the news. Pick a point of historical analysis, whether it's a newspaper article, a book that was written by a leader at that certain time. Connect the dots, because it's always a pattern.
Sure.
Then here's the other side of it. Choose a fictional writer, because fictional writers are also using facts, history, they're teaching. And when you lay all of those pieces out, you start to understand and get a gist of what's actually happening in your environment. The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, it reached a new height, right? They were like, oh, she's a prophetess. Well, she was a fictional writer. She was a scientific writer. She studied patterns. She studied history. And she was now notating patterns in a historical sense that happened to be playing out right in front of us. For some of us.
Which is why I always say to folks that access to a high quality educational experience, whether it be public, charter, private, parochial, you name it. Homeschool. Thank you. The purpose and the intention behind having a good experience is so that we can create the next generation of folks who will create the next generation of masterpieces. But those masterpieces are linguistic, they are driven by art, by science, by mathematics. And so we have some work to do.
But I have a question for you, Dr. Dickey.
Oh, gosh.
That is interesting that you say that, because I don't know about you. I'm not a big social media person, but I happened upon a social media post of a really well-known rap artist who made a statement on a podcast that people didn't have to learn to read. That wasn't necessary this day and age, whether it was from AI, technology, or whatever. And I say that, how do you stand on what you just said while we at the same time don't make people who feel like, well, I didn't have access to a good education. My parents didn't have money, or I grew up in low SES. And that's nice, Dr. Dickey, that you have a college degree and you've been able to you're speaking about it on the other side. I often grapple with this. How do we convey to everybody, regardless of where you come from, that the education, the ability to read, write, and think mathematically is essential as a human being?
Well, first I would say to this rapper, I've not always been on this side. Right? And I could tell this individual stories about extreme lack and fear and helplessness. And I used fear, lack, and helplessness to become stronger. And to chart a path for my own existence and those who are connected to me, which in and of itself is quite miraculous when you think about it. And though I'm a religious person and believe that my steps have been ordered and that I've been granted a degree of favor, hard work went along with that. And then once you're on the other side, it becomes then incumbent upon one to pull others with you where you are, out of lack, out of fear,
Yeah.
and into what I call, the marvelous light.
Yeah.
And so folks can, be critical of folks on this side, but fine, be critical, but understand what I've done with my capacity on this side.
Yeah.
There's not a day, a moment that I'm awake that I don't think about how I can pull others to this side.
Yeah. Yes. And I also think that once you're empowered with this skill set, you get to choose whatever you want. Listen, I have a cousin, allegedly, who was probably one of the best pharmaceutical, unauthorized pharmaceutical dealers in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay?
Grew up with some of those.
When I say the mathematical foundational concepts and first of all, you can't be successful unless you know how much inventory you have, what the price of the inventory is going for, how much to charge your customers, what your return on your investment is going to be.
Your profit margin.
Your profit margin. That's a skill set. And because there was automaticity in multiplication, in addition, and dare I say some algebraic expression.
Yeah, come on, algebraic concept.
That person was able to be successful. And then because that person read, they understood that in order to succeed, in order to get to the place that I want to be, that I need to take whatever this revenue I have, compounded through other methods to be able to live the lifestyle that I want to live. That is education. And what I'm saying is once you're armed with that, you then get to make a choice.
Whether you use it for good
or evil.
Yeah.
But choices. This is this is where freedom lies.
That's right. Yeah. So the capacity to read and to think, to write, to compute, it creates a choice-filled life.
Right. So then you don't become the artist who is artistically inclined, and now you're doing an interview saying, I didn't make any money off that album.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because even though I'm not a lawyer, if you stick a contract in front of me, I may not know every word, but I know how to break the word down in its syllabication, look for the Latin root, and go look the word up.
Yeah, don't get me going with Latin roots. We're out of time. We're out of time. Lacey Robinson, we're out of time. So, Lacey, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Yes.
I cannot wait to share this episode with our friends here in the U.S. and abroad. So,
I love that.
Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to have a last word?
Justice is in the details of teaching and learning, and justice is in the details of how we catapult this nation into the place that we've always dreamt it to be.
All right. Thank you, Lacey. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Epiphany Exchange. For more information about UnboundEd, visit UnboundEd.com. And, of course, for more information about what we do here at Educational Epiphany, you can visit our website at educationalepiphany.com. Take care, everybody.